Covering news where you live. 5 News starts with breaking news.
As of today, for the first time that I'm aware of in this case, I am calling Billy Jack Lincks a suspect in Morgan's abduction.
Because our love for Morgan, her memory and her voice outlasted his life. And that love continues to shine.
Breaking right now on your 5 News First at 4, a break in the case. Alma police now naming Billy Jack Lincks as a suspect in the 1995 abduction of Morgan Nick. The announcement came today 29 years after Morgan disappeared from an Alma Little League field. Alma Police Chief Jeff Pointer announcing detectives used DNA evidence to connect Lincks to the 6-year-old's disappearance. He was first named a possible person of interest back in 2021, more than 20 years after he died in prison. Morgan Nick was last seen at an Alma ballpark on June 9, 1995. During the game, Morgan left with some friends to go catch fireflies. After a while, she was left by herself and then never seen again. Since then, the FBI, local authorities, her family, and the community have been searching for answers. Right now, we have live team coverage of the announcement today. We're starting with my co-anchor, Darren Bobb, who was at the press conference in Alma this morning. Darren, this case has touched so many people across the state.
Yeah, there is no doubt this one story has pretty much galvanized this whole town, not only this whole town, but the state of Arkansas and Oklahoma and this whole region for that matter. It has really brought a lot of people together. And as you mentioned, the news conference did bring a major announcement with the naming of an official suspect in this case. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. Today's announcement, as you mentioned, comes 29 years and just a few months after Morgan went missing. Since then, law enforcement has spent thousands and thousands of hours trying to find and link a suspect to this case. And through all of this has been Morgan's mother, Colleen Nick, who spoke briefly this morning at this news conference. Here's what she had to say.
You know, there have been an army of supporters and advocates and heroes who have rallied to uncover the truth about Morgan's disappearance, and you see those people here in this room today. And what I have to say about Billy Jack Lincks is that he stole Morgan from me. He stole her from her dad. And he stole her from Logan and Taryn. But he didn't see that he could never win. Because our love for Morgan, her memory and her voice outlasted his life. And that love continues to shine. Her heart, Morgan's heart, shines on.
And as you heard, Colleen, very emotional today. And the one thing that she has been from day one is out in the front of this story and never giving up hope. That's the one thing she has always said, is that there is always hope that one day they will bring Morgan home. The one thing, of course, that she also vowed to do since day one is never let the memory fade of Morgan, and she has not done that. She has not let that happen, and will not let that happen from here on out. Right now we have more on what led to police believe that Billy Jack Lincks is a suspect in this case. 5 News reporter Rachel Williams is also live here in Alma. And Rachel, how did police get to this point?
Darren, Billy Jack Lincks was first on police radar 12 weeks after Morgan disappeared in 1995. He became a person of interest at that time after being arrested for sexual solicitation of a child. Now, police say he was questioned about Morgan's abduction, but he denied any involvement. Years later, in 2019, Alma police started reviewing the early stages of the investigation, which led them back to Lincks. They say they were able to find the red pickup truck he owned in 1995. That truck had been sold to different owners since then. In 2020, the FBI processed the truck for any evidence that could still be there.
In doing so, they produced several vacuum canisters containing various forms of matter, including hair from the vehicle. Upon completion of the collection process, the FBI retained custody of the evidence.
Then in 2023, Alma detective Sean Taylor used an advanced analysis process available at a lab in Texas, which collected shocking new evidence from the truck.
In essence, that they determined that the hair contained in the evidence that was submitted for analysis was that of Colleen Nick, one of her siblings or one of her children.
Lincks was found guilty of sexual solicitation of a child and was sentenced to prison, where he later died in 2000. As police said earlier today, that this investigation is still ongoing and active, and Morgan Nick is still missing 29 years later. But for now, I'm live in Alma covering news where you live. Rachel Williams, 5 News.
All right, Rachel, thanks. Also, 5 News reporter Kayla Davis is live here in Alma as well. Kayla, a lot of emotion, as we talked about at the beginning of this newscast. This has affected a lot of people, and with today's announcement, you actually got to visit with some folks around town this afternoon.
That's right, and the sentiments are from all the residents the same today. Shock from the newly discovered details, remorse for Morgan's mother, Colleen Nick, and hope that Morgan is still out there alive and well. Multiple members of the community packed into the courtroom Tuesday morning to hear the latest developments, and many who weren't there say they tuned in on their television. Everyone I spoke to in Alma today is familiar with Morgan's story and love her. One local says she was only 10 when Morgan was abducted and can recall how it rocked the community. Now, her own daughter is 10 and says she can't imagine what Colleen Nick must be going through.
What an unimaginable feeling to know that something was happening to your daughter that you couldn't prevent, and just the overwhelming grief of that, but how she channeled her grief and has turned it into something so impactful for our community and the nation as a whole.
Coming up on your 5 News at 6, you'll hear more of Morgan's legacy through the Morgan Nick Foundation, an organization created by her mother after her disappearance. Live in Alma, covering news where you live, Kayla Davis, 5 News.
All right, Kayla, thanks. Now, this case in the last 29 years, of course, has gotten so big that hundreds of leads have poured in over the years. It was even featured in a documentary entitled Still Missing Morgan that aired right here on Channel 5 about a year or so ago. Now, that documentary turned docuseries has an unprecedented look inside the open case, revealing the new details from law enforcement and the Nick family that pretty much had never been shared before. Arkansas native Devin Parks, the director of the documentary, who was also a director for the Hulu series, followed Arkansas and federal officers for several months as they investigated this case. So a lot more to talk about out here, Alexander, and we'll have more information about what happened today. More reaction from not only from Colleen, but from folks here in Alma as well. But for now, we'll send it back into you.
Thank you, Jaron. And while the update today was significant, police say the investigation is still far from over. They're working to bring Morgan home. Investigators say that requires a better understanding of Lincks.
I can tell you today that this investigation is not over. It is ongoing and active. In the wake of this development, we're working to expand our understanding of Lincks and his activities. This includes, for example, additional interviews and re-interviews of known associates, and locating any additional physical evidence. This is where we need your help. We ask that every member of the public who might have information that can help answer these questions contact us at 1-800-THE-LOST, which is the number for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
That number again, 1-800-843-5678. If you know anything that might link Billy Jack Lincks to Morgan's disappearance, you're asked to call that number. New at 4, we're also getting reaction today from state lawmakers, including Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She says that her and her husband are both praying for Morgan's family, saying, quote, "My deepest gratitude is for Colleen Nick, who mobilized her grief to create the Morgan Nick Foundation and help prevent other families from going through the same unimaginable tragedy."